Good morning, students. Today we intend to cover the second half of chapter 4, which deals with the cost management techniques, paper 5, strategic cost management and performance evaluation of the CA final syllabus. In the earlier session, we had covered till the first half, probably up to page 22 or 23. Today we will move on from there, and we hope that we will be able to complete the chapter today. Now, the concept that will be touched upon to start with will be life cycle costing. Now, what is this concept about a life cycle costing? The phrase is quite a self-explanatory. We have understood till now that costing is looked at from a product perspective or probably from an activity perspective, from a process perspective. Now, here what happens is when a particular product has been introduced in the market, there will be an introductory stage. Then there could be a stage when you expect that the market will start growing, and then probably a maturity stage will arrive, and then finally the product probably loses its charm in the market. Customers would want other features to be provided in the product, or probably a new product to be substituted, which would represent the decline stage. Just as is applicable in the case of the life of a human, wherein we find that a child, newborn child is there, it's the introduction stage, and then the child starts growing, the teens, the adolescent stage, and then you move on to the stage where you are in the 20s up to probably the 50s or so, post growth, when you rather in the growth stage. The person starts undertaking a lot of risky ventures as an entrepreneur, because age is with them and they have the guts to go ahead with these things. Then probably what happens is a stage comes in life when the person probably is married, have children and settle down. The children are growing up. Probably the risk-taking appetite slowly starts decreasing when they want that the children should be well settled in life. That's the maturity stage. And then in the human life, the final stage, which is your decline stage, arrives when health problems start cropping up. You intend to actually start reducing your costs in a big way. You want to lead a Spartan or a very simple life. You don't want to lead a flamboyant life, unlike what would have happened when you were in your 20s and 30s, when you were earning pretty well. Now, if this is what we have been seeing and experiencing in our real life situation, something similar happens even in the case of product life cycle, which is what is being referred to in this, or rather through this concept. So even products go through these four stages: introduction, then there is the growth, maturity, and then the decline. When we refer to the introduction stage, please bear in mind that it refers to a product being introduced in the market for the first time. Okay, that's what typically happens, and you intend to gain a market share initially, first by trying to create a market awareness in the minds of the customers. Probably you could adopt a market penetration strategy, or probably even a price skimming strategy where you might identify a niche segment for you and charge a premium by serving only those customers. For example, door delivery of vegetables in a very posh area where the rates would be completely different from what might be the case in the general middle class market. Now, the strategies that would be adopted in the introduction stage, growth stage, maturity stage, or stability stage, and decline stage would obviously be different. The characteristics would be different in each stage, correct? Now, these are being expressed to you in the study material over 3 to 4 pages. My personal view is you can read these points, which are quite self-explanatory. All that I would like to draw your attention to is, after all these things have been explained, the study material contains probably a one-page tabulated database, which is divided into two parts. One segment of the tabulated database refers to collating the life cycle characteristics pertaining to the introduction, the growth, the maturity, the decline stages. It's very nicely presented to you. And the second part of the tabulated data refers to the respective strategies adopted in the introduction stage, the growth stage, the maturity stage, and the decline stage. This is nothing but, by this I mean the tabulated data is nothing but the gist of the 2 or 3 pages that have been explained to you prior to this table. So it's very critical for you, after having read those 2 3 pages, to have ensured that you have really understood and mastered these 2 tables, as this is a quick revision note from an examination perspective. Now, obviously, in your introductory stage, I'm sure one would think of advertising in a very big way, whereas that would not be the case when one were to probably be in the decline stage, because you know that the product is going to be withdrawn quite shortly. Why would you want to invest hugely in terms of ads? You would not want to do it. Similarly, after all these things, there is a particular component of product life cycle which deals with the characteristics of a product life cycle. Each of these stages obviously will have certain different characteristics, and when you go through, you find that these products typically would have a finite life, but at the end of which the product is withdrawn from the market. Correct? So you need to cater to the requirements of the customer across the different stages of the product life cycle. The cost, the revenue, the profits that would be incurred or earned from the product across the product life cycle also are expected to follow certain predictable patterns. For example, if one were to ask you, would you expect huge profits in the introductory stage or in the growth stage, and then probably consolidate in the maturity stage? Obviously, in the growth and the maturity stage, you expect it to be rising and then stabilizing. In the decline stage, you would expect it to drop. So these are certain kind of estimates that you can have prior to the launch itself. This is how typically product flow will happen. Again, I try to link it to the human health related factor. Obviously, the old age, you don't expect that the person will tend to be far healthier than what would have been the position of that person when he or she was in the teens or probably in the middle-aged category. At 95, if a person lives that long, you can't expect that the person will do 50 sit-ups, which could be done by a person who is just 20 years old. So the characteristics would differ accordingly. The profit per unit that would be earned across the different stages again will differ because the dynamics are different in each stage. The ad related expenditure, the awareness related expenditure, etc. would differ. Also, each stage offers different types of threats and opportunities, correct, which will have to be appropriately responded to. And then there is a second last point there which talks about products require different functional emphasis, which is a very nice concept in each stage. In the decline stage, would you want to invest a lot in research and development? Obviously not. You would naturally say that research and development is required at the design and the launch stage, which is the introductory stage. Whereas in the decline stage, you would be more interested in controlling costs. But then in your growing stage, you may not want to actually restrict your cost in a very big way because you want to gain a good market share. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to say that you will never want to actually lay emphasis on cost control, but you may not want to significantly curtail because your objective is invest initially heavily and then reap the benefit at a later point in time, as would happen probably with any entrepreneur who would want to enter a particular market. Then you have either you want to bring in new customers or retain the customers. For example, the decline stage, would you be trying to approach customers to gain new customers, or would that happen in the introductory stage and the growing stage? Obviously, in the introductory the growth stage. In the decline stage, you will try your level best to ensure that the customer loyalty is there and he or she is retained with you. Then we move on to another aspect of product life cycle costing, which deals with the benefits of product life cycle costing. Obviously, see, understand it this way. Product life cycle costing is a tool available in the hands of the cost accountant or the accountant effectively to help manage costs better. You are trying to understand that what will be the cost that will be incurred across the life cycle of a particular product, right from launch till its decline or till it is withdrawn from the market. Now, obviously, when we explain this to you, I guess the first thing that should hit the mind is that this seems to be giving a much broader perspective of the cost of a particular product, or probably we can say it gives us a holistic view. Though from an accounting perspective, we might want to look at it from a compartmentalized approach in terms of product wise or year period wise, etc. Nothing wrong in looking at what would be the total impact of a particular product throughout the life cycle. Something similar to in your capital budgeting decisions, are we not trying to look at the entire project duration related cash inflows to be able to calculate the net present value, or are we simply looking only at isolated cash inflows of a few particular years? Certainly not, isn't it? Something similar to that occurs even over here. So this will have a clear impact on the revenue, the cost, the profit margins. And then obviously you will find that the benefits of product life cycle costing, if you need to have, this will give you a benefit which will not be short term in nature but long term in nature. Okay. Two, management, because they plan well in advance in terms of the impact that the product is going to undergo throughout the life cycle, they will be able to be better informed. Therefore, better decisions are possible. Quality of the decisions might probably improve. Obviously, this also requires accounting systems to be able to provide the required information. So, from a wealth maximization perspective, this might be more relevant rather than from a profit maximization perspective. The quality of decisions, the accuracy of decisions might probably improve as well. Correct? Now, what are all those steps that they need to specifically take to ensure that the costs which are expected to be high at a particular stage of the product life cycle can be contained? That could also be investigated, and appropriate measures could possibly be implemented in the organization. Now, these things provide to us an understanding of the benefits of product life cycle. The uses of product life cycle, the next component, product life cycle can be used typically as a planning component or a tool, a controlling tool, a forecasting tool, and that's self-explanatory if you read those two-liners about each kind of an activity that is undertaken. Moving on from there, we enter a new concept called Pareto analysis. Now, what is this Pareto analysis all about? This has been introduced by a gentleman who was an Italian economist, so to say. It's a very simple concept. Now, let's look at it in a different way and then come to this. Suppose in a particular house or a particular godown, stock worth 5 crores is existing, and you are the in charge of that godown. Suppose hypothetically that fire breaks in and the godown is fire has started spreading in the godown and you are of the daredevil type. Now you are interested in trying to save the stock existing over there. What would you do typically, apart from calling the fire engine, if you find that the godown is a huge place and the fire is at the other end? You may want to get in and try to at least get away with a few of those stock items, at least to save them. Now let's assume in your godown, while the stock worth is 5 crores, there is also an office chair. Would you dare to get in and come out with your office chair? Or for example, one particular item in the godown among all the various items that you've stacked in your godown, which is, let's assume, a diamond, okay, a blue jacket diamond, which is worth, for example, 4 crores, and which is quite small as well, but the value of it is very high. The fire which is there at the other end is nowhere near the diamond piece. Would you not sensibly try to enter the godown and get away with the diamond piece which is worth 4 crores, so that just in one stroke you have been able to protect or save 80% of your stock. The balance 20%, even if it is devastated in the fire, still the worth of it is only 1 crore, though the numbers might be, for example, 20,000 items. By just getting one or a few items, you have been able to significantly reduce the risk that you have undertaken. So one example to make you understand what Pareto has tried to introduce to us as a concept. Let's take another example before we venture into this so that we can get closed out quickly. Your strategic cost management and performance evaluation subject has probably 13 chapters. And if you sit and physically count the number of pages in your study material, you may notice that you have typically around 700 pages, maybe 650 to 700 pages approximately. That's about 50 pages a chapter approximately. Now, the day prior to your exam, you know that after paper 4, you have on hand only 1.5 days typically before a CMP starts. Now tell me, or rather imagine, as to how would you be able to cover the entire 650 to 700 pages in a matter of just 1.5 days, when at least you will have to sleep also across the 2 nights, probably for 12 hours, 6 plus 6, 12 hours. What's the time that you have on hand to cover the entire syllabus? Would it be sensible to adopt that kind of an approach of reading the entire study material? What do you generally do? You will pick up your notes that you have taken down, probably revision notes or whatever be. And those revision notes are certainly going to be small in size. You might have expressed the moot points, the main points in the study material topic wise, in terms of short notes that will help you recollect things quickly at the last minute. Now, when you take down your notes, will you be taking down notes for virtually each page of your study material, or you would be doing an analysis to find out in each chapter what is it that is very important, very critical, and what is it from that critical component that I need to note down? Is this not what you will do sensibly? Why are you doing this? To reduce your risk, to utilize your time better, to improve your productivity, which is nothing but your returns, and enhancing the chances of clearing the exam, not entering the hall with a sense of nervousness that you have not adequately revised. Nothing different happens in Pareto analysis. So, when we talk about the critical aspect that you are referring to, here he presents it as a 80-20 rule, wherein typically he says 20% of the quantity is what will generally represent 80% of the worth or the value. Okay. Now, this can have significant ramifications in different areas. Therefore, Pareto analysis as a tool is used in several different areas as application. For example, one is pricing of a product. Now, the management wants to sit back and decide as to how to price a product. If they have got 50 different products, just imagine if the top senior management has to sit and analyze the database of all the 50 products. Don't they have anything better to do in life? Higher the level of responsibility, would you not want them to invest more of the time in strategic thinking rather than executing the administrative stuff? What would be the option available? Out of all those 50 products, if the management accountant were to help the top management with a database expressing that, look, out of the 50 products that we deliver and earn 50 crores in a year, 40 crores is being generated only by, let us say, these 10 products, which means 20% of the number of products is contributing to 80% of our revenue. Clearly, this does not mean that this requires the senior management's attention in terms of closely tracking how the pricing of this particular product has to be done in the market to ensure that you don't lose customers. Whereas, with regard to the balance 40 products that you produce and sell, we are not saying that they are not critical in terms of to hell with them and whatever be the price in the market, we are not bothered. All that we are trying to say is the top management decides to delegate the responsibility to the middle level management or the lower level management to decide what would be the fate of these products, and if there are any serious issues that they face, they're always welcome to approach the senior management to seek their guidance. This saves the time of the senior management significantly by utilizing or making them invest the time only in top quality areas and freeing them up from the usual hassle. Similarly, with regard to customer profitability analysis, ABC analysis of stock control, application in activity-based costing, and quality control, in all these major areas, the same funda or concept is applied in terms of 80-20. I hope it will be significantly clear to you. If not, do not hesitate to reach me for any doubt.